Years passed peacefully in the remote mountains as Goku grew into a remarkable young boy under Gohan's patient guidance. The old martial artist taught his grandson not only the fundamentals of combat, but also the values of compassion and respect for all living things. Goku's incredible appetite never diminished, requiring hunting expeditions that showcased his growing strength and speed. His tail, which Gohan had learned to accept as simply another aspect of his grandson's unique nature, proved useful for tasks requiring extra dexterity. The boy's innocent questions about the world beyond their mountain home revealed a curious mind eager to learn. Though Gohan often struggled to explain concepts that seemed second nature to most people, their isolated existence came to an abrupt end on a day that began like any other. Goku had spent the morning fishing in the nearby stream, catching enough to feed a family of 10 with his bare hands and remarkable reflexes. The afternoon found him practicing the martial arts forms Gohan had taught him, his movements flowing with a natural grace that belied his lack of formal training. As evening approached, he shouldered his grandfather's power pole and set off toward home with his day's catch, completely unaware that his world was about to expand beyond anything he could imagine. The sound came first, a rumbling mechanical noise unlike anything that belonged in their peaceful wilderness. Goku paused on the forest path, his keen senses detecting the approach of something large and fast-moving along the old mountain road. His curiosity overrode any sense of caution as he hurried toward the sound, eager to investigate this unprecedented intrusion into his domain. What he discovered defied all of his limited understanding of how the world worked. A strange blue capsule-shaped object rolled toward him at tremendous speed, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly perfection that hurt his eyes to look upon directly. Goku had never seen anything like it, and his first instinct was to treat it as he would any wild animal that wandered too close to their territory. He stepped directly into its path and caught the massive vehicle with his bare hands, his feet digging trenches in the earth as he brought it to a complete stop through sheer physical strength. The impact should have killed any normal person, but Goku merely staggered slightly before regaining his balance. What concerned him more was the assumption that some kind of monster lived inside the metal beast, especially when it began making angry mechanical noises and emitting strange fumes. His protective instincts engaged immediately, and he prepared to defend himself against whatever creature might emerge from the damaged shell. Instead of a monster, a girl tumbled out of the vehicle, her purple hair disheveled and her face flushed with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. Bulma Brief, 16 years old and accustomed to the conveniences of West City, found herself face to face with something she had never encountered in all her privileged life. A boy, approximately her own age, who appeared to have never seen civilization. His orange martial arts uniform, primitive staff, and complete lack of reaction to her obvious distress marked him as something entirely outside her experience. Goku stared at this strange newcomer with undisguised fascination. Bulma was the first human being, other than his grandfather, that he had ever seen, and the differences in her appearance and behavior captivated him completely. Her colorful clothing, strange scent, and the way she gestured while speaking seemed like manifestations of magic to his sheltered perspective. When she began shouting at him about damaged vehicles and reckless behavior, he listened with the rapt attention of a student encountering a completely new language. The language barrier proved less significant than the cultural one. Goku's limited vocabulary, learned entirely from his grandfather's old-fashioned speech patterns, struggled to cope with Bulma's modern slang and technological references. When she mentioned calling her father to retrieve the damaged car, Goku asked if her father was a particularly large bird, having never heard the word used in any other context. His innocent questions about basic concepts like cities, schools, and electricity revealed the depth of his isolation from the modern world. Bulma's initial irritation gave way to amazement as she realized just how sheltered this boy's existence had been. His physical feat of stopping her speeding vehicle had been impressive enough, but his complete ignorance of common knowledge suggested he had been raised in complete isolation from human society. Her scientific curiosity began to override her frustration as she recognized an opportunity to study a truly unique specimen of humanity. The fact that he seemed friendly, despite his obvious strength, encouraged her to prolong their encounter. The conversation took an unexpected turn when Bulma noticed the 4-star Dragon Ball attached to Goku's power pole. Her excitement at discovering one of the legendary spheres was immediately tempered by Goku's emotional reaction to her interest in it. The orange orb was, he explained haltingly, the last memento of his beloved grandfather, Gohan, who had died in a mysterious accident several years earlier. Goku's description of finding the old man's broken body after a strange night he couldn't quite remember carried a weight of grief that moved even Bulma's practical heart. Recognizing that direct acquisition of the Dragon Ball would be impossible given its sentimental value, Bulma instead chose to reveal the true nature of the mysterious sphere. Her explanation of the legend behind the 7 Dragon Balls captivated Goku completely. The idea that there were 6 more orbs scattered across the world, and that gathering them together could summon an eternal dragon capable of granting any wish, sparked his imagination in ways that nothing else ever had. Bulma's proposal that they search for the remaining Dragon Balls together seemed like the answer to every question Goku had ever harbored about the world beyond his mountain home. The thought of traveling to distant places, meeting new people, and experiencing adventures that his grandfather had only hinted at in his stories filled him with an excitement he had never felt before. His immediate agreement to join her quest surprised Bulma with its enthusiasm and lack of any negotiation about terms or compensation. The practical arrangements for their journey revealed just how different their backgrounds truly were. Bulma's capsule core technology, which could compress entire vehicles and houses into pocket-sized containers, seemed like pure magic to Goku's unsophisticated perspective. The capsule house she deployed for their first night together contained wonders that left him speechless. Electric lights that banished darkness at the touch of a switch, running water that flowed from metal fixtures, and a television that displayed moving pictures of people and places from across the world. His reactions to these modern conveniences provided Bulma with constant entertainment. Goku's attempts to communicate with the television people, his confusion about the purpose of various bathroom fixtures, and his wonderment at prepared foods that came from metal containers, painted him as either the most sheltered person alive or someone from a completely different world. The cultural education went both ways, however, as Goku's casual demonstrations of superhuman strength and speed forced Bulma to reconsider her understanding of human limitations. The most challenging aspect of their cohabitation proved to be Goku's complete innocence regarding basic social conventions. His offer to help Bulma bathe, made with the same helpful spirit he might offer to catch fish, resulted in a level of shrieking and violence that left him completely bewildered. His confusion about anatomical differences between males and females, expressed with scientific curiosity rather than prurient interest, revealed just how isolated his upbringing had been from normal human social development. Their first major adventure together began when they encountered a large sea turtle struggling far from its ocean home. The turtle's exhausted condition and desperate need for water touched Goku's compassionate heart immediately, overriding Bulma's practical concerns about delays in their Dragon Ball quest. His decision to carry the massive reptile to the sea despite the considerable distance involved demonstrated both his physical capabilities and his moral priorities in ways that impressed even the cynical city girl. The journey to the coast took them through various terrains and challenges that showcased Goku's adaptability and resourcefulness. When they were confronted by a bear thief who demanded the turtle as payment for passage through his territory, Goku's response was swift and decisive. The bandit's size and fierce reputation meant nothing to a boy who had trained in mountain wilderness, and his defeat came so quickly that Bulma barely had time to register the threat before it was eliminated. Their arrival at the coastline marked Goku's first encounter with the ocean, a vast expanse of water that dwarfed even the largest mountain lakes he had known. The turtle's grateful transformation from exhausted burden to graceful swimmer delighted him, confirming his belief that helping others was always the correct choice regardless of personal inconvenience. What he didn't expect was that this act of kindness would introduce him to one of the most important figures in his future development. Master Roshi, the turtle hermit, emerged from his island home to personally thank the young people who had aided his friend. The elderly martial artist's appearance, with his distinctive beard, sunglasses, and staff, marked him as someone of obvious importance, despite his eccentric mannerisms. His examination of Goku revealed an immediate recognition of exceptional potential, noting the boy's physical conditioning and innocent demeanor with the eye of someone who had trained warriors for centuries. As a reward for their kindness, Master Roshi offered them each a gift suited to their nature. For Bulma, whose scientific mind and practical concerns he had quickly assessed, he provided the 3-star Dragon Ball from his personal collection. The gesture demonstrated both his generosity and his understanding that she would appreciate the concrete value of such a rare artifact. For Goku, however, the gift carried deeper significance that would shape the rest of his life. The flying nimbus appeared as a small yellow cloud that descended from the sky at Roshi's call. Its surface solid enough to support weight, yet ethereal enough to soar through the heavens. The ancient master explained that this magical transportation could only be ridden by someone with a pure heart, free from evil intentions or selfish desires. Most people, he warned, would simply fall through the cloud as if it were ordinary vapor, making it more of a test of character than a practical gift. Goku's immediate success in mounting and controlling the Nimbus confirmed what Roshi had suspected about his moral nature. The boy's delight in flight, his natural grace in guiding the mystical cloud, and his obvious joy in the gift itself spoke to an innocence that was becoming increasingly rare in the modern world. This simple test revealed more about Goku's true character than hours of conversation could have accomplished, marking him as someone worthy of greater attention from the legendary master. Their departure from Master Roshi's island carried them toward new adventures with enhanced capabilities and a growing understanding of their quest's significance. Bulma's Dragon Radar, a device of her own invention, pointed them toward their next destination with mechanical precision. The 3 Dragon Balls, now in their possession, represented nearly half of their goal, making the summons of Shenron seem tantalizingly close to reality. The journey brought them to Aru Village, a small settlement terrorized by a shape-shifting pig named Oolong, whose reputation for kidnapping young women had the entire population living in fear. The villagers' desperation and their immediate assumption that Bulma would become Oolong's next victim revealed how completely the shapeshifter had dominated their lives through fear and unpredictability. Their grateful offer of the 6-star Dragon Ball in exchange for liberation from this menace aligned perfectly with Goku's natural desire to help those in need. Goku's confrontation with Oolong showcased both his growing confidence and his tactical adaptability. The shapeshifter's ability to transform into various monsters and intimidating forms posed a unique challenge that required more than simple strength to overcome. When Oolong assumed the form of a massive bull creature to frighten his opponents into submission, Goku responded with the kind of creative problem-solving that would become his trademark in future battles. The battle revealed that shape-shifting had significant limitations that a clever opponent could exploit. Oolong's transformations, while visually impressive, couldn't grant him abilities he didn't inherently possess. His bull form might look powerful, but it still possessed the same weak will and cowardly nature that defined his true personality. Goku's persistence and fearless approach eventually wore down the shapeshifter's resolve, forcing him to abandon his intimidation tactics in favor of desperate flight. The chase that followed took them through the village and surrounding countryside, with Goku's superior speed and agility making the outcome inevitable, despite Oolong's various transformations. When the shapeshifter finally surrendered, exhausted by his efforts to escape, his true nature was revealed as more pitiful than terrifying. The pig's confession that his evil reputation had been built more on psychological manipulation than actual power disappointed Goku, who had hoped for a more challenging opponent. Oolong's forced integration into their traveling party added a new dynamic to their group. His knowledge of the wider world, gained through years of wandering and mischief, provided valuable information about the regions they would need to explore. His cowardly nature and constant complaints about their dangerous lifestyle served as a counterpoint to Goku's eager enthusiasm for adventure. Most importantly, his shape-shifting abilities, however limited, would prove useful in situations requiring subterfuge or deception. Their expanded group's journey toward the next Dragon Ball led them through the Diablo Desert, a harsh wasteland that tested their resolve and resources. The extreme conditions and lack of water forced them to rely on each other's strengths in ways that deepened their unlikely partnership. It was in this desolate landscape that they encountered their most formidable challenge yet, a desert bandit whose skills would push Goku to new levels of combat prowess. Yamcha, the desert wolf, approached their small caravan with the confidence of someone accustomed to easy victories over travelers weakened by the harsh environment. His distinctive appearance, with wild black hair and facial scars, marked him as a veteran of countless battles in the unforgiving wasteland. The curved sword at his side and the floating cat companion who served as his advisor suggested skills far beyond those of ordinary bandits they might encounter. Goku's immediate recognition of Yamcha as a serious opponent filled him with an excitement that concerned his companion. The boy's eagerness to test himself against skilled fighters often overrode practical concerns about injury or mission objectives. His challenge to single combat, delivered with the kind of formal courtesy Gohan had taught him, revealed both his martial arts background and his fundamental honor in dealing with worthy opponents. The battle that ensued showcased fighting techniques far more sophisticated than anything Goku had previously encountered. Yamcha's Wolf-Fang Fist, a devastating combination of speed and power that mimicked the attack patterns of wild wolves, pushed Goku's defensive abilities to their limits. The bandit's experience in life or death combat showed in every movement, forcing the mountain-raised boy to adapt quickly or face serious injury. What neither fighter anticipated was how hunger would affect their battle's outcome. Goku's enormous appetite, which his companions had learned to take for granted, became a critical weakness as the extended fight drained his energy reserves. His growing weakness allowed Yamcha to gain a decisive advantage, bringing the Wolf-Fang Fist assault to bear with increasing effectiveness. The battle's tide turned completely in the bandit's favor. As Goku's strength failed him at the crucial moment, the intervention came from an unexpected source, as Bulma's awakening interrupted the climactic phase of their confrontation. Her appearance triggered Yamcha's most severe weakness, and pathological shyness around women that rendered him completely incapable of coherent thought or action. The feared desert wolf's transformation into a stammering, blushing teenager provided Goku with the reprieve he needed to recover his strength and turn the tables on his opponent. This first encounter with Yamcha established a pattern that would define many of Goku's future relationships. The initial conflict, born of misunderstanding and circumstance rather than true enmity, gave way to mutual respect and eventual friendship. Yamcha's recognition of Goku's potential, despite his youth and inexperience, marked the beginning of bonds that would prove crucial in the trials ahead. The Desert Bandits' decision to follow their group covertly, rather than simply robbing them, spoke to a curiosity about these unusual travelers that would ultimately reshape his own destiny. The completion of their Dragon Ball quest brought Goku and his companions to a moment of triumph that would soon transform into something far more significant than any of them could have imagined. With all 7 mystical orbs finally gathered, they witnessed the emergence of Shenron, the eternal dragon whose power exceeded even their wildest expectations. The massive serpentine figure that materialized from the swirling energy of the Dragon Balls spoke with a voice that echoed across dimensions, offering to grant any single wish within his considerable abilities. Yet, their moment of victory was stolen by Emperor Pilaf's treachery, leaving them with nothing but memories of how close they had come to their goal. Goku's disappointment at the lost opportunity was tempered by his growing excitement about a different kind of challenge entirely. Master Roshi's invitation to train under his tutelage represented something the boy had dreamed of since their first meeting at the seaside. The legendary Turtle Hermit's reputation as a martial arts master was matched only by his eccentric personality and seemingly impossible physical feats. When Goku had witnessed the old man's Kamehameha wave, destroying an entire mountain to extinguish the flames around Fire Mountain, he knew he was in the presence of someone who could teach him techniques beyond anything his grandfather had shown him. The journey to Master Roshi's island home took Goku across waters he had never seen before, riding his flying Nimbus through salt-tinged air that spoke of vast distances and endless horizons. The isolation of the Turtle Hermit's dwelling place struck him as perfect for the kind of intensive training he hoped to receive. Here, far from the distractions and complications of the outside world, he could focus entirely on becoming the strongest fighter possible. His anticipation grew with every mile as he imagined the secret techniques and advanced forms that awaited his eager study. His arrival at the island coincided with that of another aspiring student whose presence would fundamentally alter the course of both their lives. Krillin, a young monk who had abandoned his monastery to seek martial arts training in the outside world, represented everything that Goku was not. Where Goku was innocent and trusting, Krillin was worldly and cynical. Where Goku approached training with pure enthusiasm, Krillin calculated advantages and strategic benefits. Yet beneath these surface differences lay a shared determination to become stronger that would forge one of the most important friendships in either of their lives. Master Roshi's initial response to their requests for training revealed the depths of his legendary eccentricity. Rather than evaluating their physical abilities or martial arts knowledge, he made his acceptance conditional on their ability to procure something entirely unrelated to combat skills. His demand for a beautiful woman as payment for instruction left both boys confused and disturbed, particularly Goku, whose sheltered upbringing had left him completely unprepared for such requests. The old master's lecherous grin and obvious anticipation made it clear that this was not merely an unusual test of dedication. Their search for a suitable candidate to satisfy Roshi's demands led them through various misadventures that tested their resourcefulness and teamwork. Goku's complete inability to judge feminine beauty, combined with his innocent approach to requesting such favors from strangers, resulted in a series of rejections and misunderstandings that left Krillin to handle the more delicate aspects of their mission. The monk's greater worldliness proved valuable in navigating social situations that would have baffled his mountain-raised companion entirely. Fortune smiled upon them when they encountered Launch, a woman whose split personality disorder created two completely different individuals sharing the same body. Her blonde, violent persona terrified even hardened criminals with her incredible marksmanship and explosive temper, while her blue-haired, gentle side represented sweetness and innocence personified. The contrast between these two aspects of the same person fascinated Goku, who had never encountered anything like multiple personalities before. Her agreement to accompany them back to Master Roshi's island solved their immediate problem, while introducing a wildly unpredictable element into their training environment. Master Roshi's approval of their success marked the beginning of the most intensive period of physical development either student had ever experienced. The legendary master's training methods bore no resemblance to conventional martial arts instruction, instead focusing on building fundamental strength, endurance, and mental discipline through seemingly unrelated tasks. His philosophy emphasized that true martial arts mastery came from developing the entire person rather than simply learning fighting techniques. This holistic approach would prove far more valuable than either student initially realized. Their daily routine began before dawn with deliveries of milk bottles throughout the surrounding islands, a task that required them to run extraordinary distances while carrying increasingly heavy loads. The milk delivery route stretched across multiple islands, connected by treacherous bridges and steep mountain paths that tested their endurance and balance. Master Roshi's insistence that they complete these deliveries within strict time limits while maintaining perfect condition of the fragile bottles added pressure that transformed simple running into a complex challenge requiring speed, precision, and unwavering focus. Construction work replaced the morning deliveries, with both students required to build houses, roads, and other infrastructure projects, using only hand tools and their own physical strength. The tasks seemed designed to develop every muscle group through practical application rather than abstract exercise. Moving massive stone blocks, digging foundation trenches, and assembling wooden frameworks demanded not only raw power, but also problem-solving skills and careful coordination. Master Roshi's supervision ensured that every movement served a specific training purpose, even when the students couldn't understand the underlying methodology. The afternoon swimming sessions pushed their cardiovascular development to extraordinary levels while building the kind of total body conditioning that could only come from fighting against natural forces. The ocean around Master Roshi's island concealed dangers that transformed every training swim into a life or death struggle for survival. Sharks, strong currents, and sudden storms created an environment where weakness meant death and strength meant another day of training. The students learned to navigate these hazards while maintaining the speed and distance requirements their master demanded. Throughout all these exercises, Master Roshi required them to wear extremely heavy turtle shells on their backs, adding hundreds of pounds to their body weight during every activity. The shells served multiple purposes, building raw strength while forcing them to maintain perfect balance and posture under extreme conditions. The psychological effect proved equally important, as students who could perform complex tasks while bearing such burdens would find normal movement incredibly easy by comparison. The constant weight also served as a reminder of their commitment to training, making every moment a conscious choice to continue or surrender. The most challenging aspect of their training proved to be the mental discipline required to maintain focus despite the seemingly endless repetition of mundane tasks. Master Roshi's methods deliberately stripped away the excitement and glory that many students associated with martial arts training, revealing the unglamorous dedication required for true mastery. Days blended into weeks as they delivered milk, built structures, and swam against deadly currents, with no apparent connection to the fighting techniques they hoped to learn. Goku's natural enthusiasm and Krillin's determination sustained them through periods when lesser students might have abandoned their training entirely. Their growing friendship provided mutual support during the most difficult phases, with each pushing the other to continue when individual motivation failed. The contrast between their personalities created a dynamic where Goku's optimism balanced Krillin's pragmatism, while Krillin's experience complemented Goku's instinctive understanding of physical training. The transformative effects of Master Roshi's methods became apparent gradually, rather than through dramatic breakthroughs. Movements that had once required their full concentration became automatic, allowing them to focus on more complex challenges. Tasks that had seemed impossible during their first attempts became routine exercises that barely taxed their enhanced capabilities. Most significantly, they developed the kind of mental toughness that would prove invaluable in future battles against opponents who relied on intimidation and psychological warfare. Master Roshi's evaluation of their progress took the form of practical demonstrations rather than formal testing. When he casually asked them to move a massive boulder that had served as a landmark during their early training, both students approached the task with the same matter-of-fact attitude they brought to all their exercises. The ease with which they shifted the enormous stone, which had been completely immovable during their first weeks on the island, revealed just how dramatically their strength had increased through months of seemingly unrelated activities. The revelation of their enhanced abilities filled both students with a sense of accomplishment that went far beyond simple physical improvement. They had proven to themselves that dedication and proper guidance could overcome any limitation, a lesson that would serve them throughout their future careers as martial artists. More importantly, they had developed the kind of unshakable confidence that came from knowing they had earned their strength through honest effort rather than shortcuts or natural gifts. Master Roshi's announcement that their basic training was complete came as both a relief and a disappointment to his eager students. The relief came from knowing they would no longer need to endure the grueling daily routine that had consumed their lives for months. The disappointment stemmed from their realization that they had only begun to scratch the surface of what the legendary master could teach them. Their hunger for advanced techniques and secret fighting methods had only grown stronger through their period of physical development. The old master's decision to enter them in the upcoming World Martial Arts Tournament represented both a reward for their dedication and a new phase of their education. The tournament would provide them with opponents whose skills and experience far exceeded anything they could encounter in training exercises. More importantly, it would test their ability to apply their enhanced physical capabilities under the pressure of real combat against fighters who had devoted their lives to martial arts mastery. Goku's excitement about the tournament exceeded even his initial enthusiasm for training under Master Roshi. The prospect of facing skilled opponents from around the world appealed to every aspect of his competitive nature, while promising the kind of challenging battles he had dreamed of since childhood. His eagerness to test himself against unknown fighters burned so intensely that he could barely contain his anticipation during the weeks leading up to the competition. The journey to Papaya Island, site of the World Martial Arts Tournament, marked Goku's return to the wider world. After months of isolated training, the crowds, noise, and excitement of the tournament grounds overwhelmed his senses after the quiet routine of island life, yet also energized him with their promise of adventure and challenge. His reunion with Bulma, Yamcha, Oolong, and Puar provided a welcome reminder of the friendships he had formed during his first journey beyond the mountains, while their amazement at his physical transformation confirmed the effectiveness of his training. The preliminary rounds of the tournament served as Goku's introduction to the broader world of competitive martial arts. Fighters from every corner of the earth displayed techniques and philosophies that expanded his understanding of what was possible through dedicated training. Some relied on raw power, others on speed and agility, while still others employed exotic weapons or unusual combat styles. Each match taught him something new about the infinite variety of approaches to martial combat. His own preliminary matches revealed just how completely Master Roshi's training had transformed his capabilities. Opponents who might have posed serious challenges before his island training fell before him with embarrassing ease, unable to cope with his enhanced speed, strength, and reflexes. The casual manner in which he defeated experienced fighters shocked even those who knew him best, demonstrating that his months of milk delivery and construction work had created abilities far beyond what his youthful appearance suggested. The tournament's main bracket brought him face to face with opponents whose skills demanded every ounce of his enhanced abilities. His quarterfinal match against Giron, a massive, dinosaur-like creature whose unusual physiology and fighting style challenged conventional combat approaches, forced him to think creatively about how to apply his training. The beast's tough hide and powerful claws represented the kind of natural weapons that human fighters rarely possessed, while his intelligent use of binding techniques showed that raw power alone would not guarantee victory. Goku's victory over Giron came through the unexpected return of his tail, which had been removed years earlier following his destructive Great Ape transformation. The tail's regeneration provided him with the extra leverage needed to escape Giron's most effective restraining technique, allowing him to turn the tables on his opponent through superior mobility and reflexes. More importantly, the match demonstrated his ability to adapt to unexpected circumstances and find solutions to seemingly impossible situations. The semi-final bout against Nam, a fighter whose dedication to martial arts matched Goku's own, but whose motivations carried the weight of desperate necessity, provided a different kind of challenge entirely. Nam's village faced extinction due to prolonged drought, making the tournament's prize money literally a matter of life and death for countless innocent people. His fighting style, developed through years of training in harsh desert conditions, emphasized aerial combat and techniques designed to end fights quickly and decisively. The battle that ensued showcased martial arts at a level rarely seen in tournament competition, with both fighters pushing their abilities to absolute limits. Nam's desperation gave him an edge in determination that matched Goku's natural enthusiasm for combat, creating a perfectly balanced contest that could have ended in victory for either participant. Their aerial exchanges, featuring techniques that defied conventional understanding of human mobility, thrilled the tournament crowd while demonstrating just how far dedicated training could extend natural limitations. Goku's narrow victory came through a combination of superior reflexes and tactical creativity that allowed him to counter Nam's most devastating attack at the crucial moment. The triumph filled him with satisfaction, while also teaching him respect for opponents whose skills approached his own level. Nam's gracious acceptance of defeat, despite the catastrophic consequences for his people, demonstrated the kind of honor and sportsmanship that Goku aspired to embody in his own career. The tournament final would prove to be unlike anything Goku had experienced before, as his opponent was none other than the defending champion Jackie Chun, whose mysterious identity concealed the most important revelation of the entire competition. The veteran fighter's unorthodox appearance and eccentric mannerisms masked combat abilities that exceeded even Goku's enhanced expectations, promising a battle that would test every aspect of his development under Master Roshi's guidance. What he could not know was that this climactic confrontation would teach him lessons about strength, humility, and the endless nature of martial arts mastery that would guide him for the rest of his extraordinary life. The final confrontation between Goku and Jackie Chun became the stuff of martial arts legend, a battle that stretched the limits of human endurance and showcased techniques that seemed to transcend mortal capability. Jackie Chun's true identity remained hidden beneath his disguise, but his fighting abilities revealed themselves as belonging to a master whose experience spanned decades of dedicated training. The veteran fighter's opening moves demonstrated a level of skill that forced Goku to abandon any thoughts of easy victory, replacing his confident enthusiasm with the focused intensity of someone facing a truly dangerous opponent. Their exchange of basic techniques served as a feeling out process that allowed each fighter to gauge his opponent's capabilities while concealing his own most devastating attacks. Jackie Chun's movements flowed with the effortless grace of someone who had long since mastered the fundamentals of martial combat, every gesture serving multiple purposes while revealing nothing unnecessary about his overall strategy. Goku's responses showed the raw power and natural instincts that Master Roshi's training had refined into something approaching true martial artistry. yet also revealed gaps in experience that a clever opponent could exploit. The battle's intensity escalated when Jackie Chun demonstrated techniques that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics, moving with speed that made him appear to vanish entirely before reappearing in impossible positions. His after-image technique left multiple false targets that confused Goku's tracking ability while positioning the real fighter for devastating counterattacks. The veteran's mastery of this advanced skill forced Goku to rely more heavily on his instincts than his eyes, developing his combat awareness in ways that formal training could never achieve. Goku's adaptation to his opponent's superior technique showcased the learning ability that would define his entire martial arts career. Rather than becoming frustrated by Jackie Chun's advantages, he studied every movement and began developing counters to techniques he was seeing for the first time. His natural fighting instincts, enhanced by months of grueling physical conditioning, allowed him to gradually close the gap between their skill levels through pure determination and rapid improvement during combat itself. The introduction of energy attacks transformed their contest into something that transcended ordinary martial arts competition. Jackie Chun's Kamehameha wave, executed with power and precision that dwarfed Goku's earlier attempts at the technique, carved a path of destruction across the tournament grounds that left spectators speechless with awe and terror. The massive energy beams controlled devastation, demonstrated mastery of forces that most people believed existed only in legends and myths. Goku's response, with his own Kamehameha wave, created a collision of energies that shook the very foundations of the tournament arena. The beam struggle that ensued pushed both fighters to their absolute limits, while providing a spectacular display of power that redefined everyone's understanding of what human beings could accomplish through dedicated training. The young fighter's ability to match his opponent's signature technique, despite his relative inexperience, revealed potential that impressed even the disguised master, who had taught him the move's fundamentals. The battle took an unexpected and dangerous turn when the full moon rose above the tournament grounds, triggering Goku's Saiyan transformation into the Great Ape. The massive beast that emerged bore little resemblance to the skilled martial artist who had been fighting moments before, replaced instead by a creature of pure instinct and overwhelming destructive power. The transformation's sudden onset caught everyone unprepared, including Goku himself, who retained no conscious control over his actions while in the ape form. Jackie Chun's response to this unprecedented crisis demonstrated both his quick thinking and his willingness to sacrifice personal advantage for the greater good, rather than attempting to exploit Goku's loss of control for an easy tournament victory. The disguised master immediately recognized the threat that the rampaging great ape posed to everyone present. His decision to destroy the moon itself, using a Kamehameha wave of unprecedented power, showed a level of responsibility and capability that few people on Earth could match. The moon's destruction sent massive chunks of debris raining down on the tournament grounds, while simultaneously reverting Goku to his human form. The young fighter's return to consciousness left him confused and disoriented, with no memory of his transformation or the destruction he had caused during his brief rampage. His innocent questions about the missing moon and the tournament's damaged arena revealed just how completely the great ape state separated his conscious mind from his actions. With both fighters returned to human form and normal consciousness, their battle resumed with an intensity that exceeded even their previous exchanges. The mutual exhaustion from their earlier combat and the energy expenditure of dealing with Goku's transformation left both warriors operating on pure willpower and fighting instinct. Every technique they employed carried the weight of desperation as their physical capabilities approached complete exhaustion. Jackie Chun's experience proved decisive in managing his energy reserves and maintaining technique precision despite his growing fatigue. His efficient movements wasted no motion while maximizing the impact of every attack, demonstrating the kind of refined skill that could only come from decades of combat experience. In contrast, Goku's approach relied more heavily on raw determination and natural resilience, pushing his body beyond its normal limits through sheer force of will. The climactic exchange that decided their contest came down to a test of pure endurance rather than technical skill. Both fighters had exhausted their most powerful techniques and advanced strategies, leaving them to rely on basic punches, kicks, and grappling moves executed with whatever strength remained in their battered bodies. The crowd watched in stunned silence as two masters of martial arts reduced their conflict to its most elemental form. Goku's final defeat came not through any dramatic technique or overwhelming display of power, but through the simple reality that his opponent possessed slightly greater reserves of stamina and experience in managing fatigue during extended combat. Jackie Chun's victory was measured in fractions of seconds and degrees of exhaustion that only the fighters themselves could truly appreciate. The margin was so narrow that either competitor could have emerged victorious under slightly different circumstances. The tournament's conclusion left Goku with his first taste of significant defeat in martial combat, a lesson that proved far more valuable than any victory could have been. Jackie Chun's post-fight revelation of the techniques and strategies he had employed provided Goku with insights into advanced martial arts concepts that would guide his future development. More importantly, the defeat taught him humility and the understanding that there would always be stronger opponents waiting to challenge his growing abilities. Master Roshi's advice to explore the world and seek new challenges resonated deeply with Goku's natural curiosity and desire for adventure. The tournament had shown him just how much he still needed to learn, while also revealing the incredible diversity of fighting styles and philosophies that existed beyond his limited experience. His decision to embark on a solo journey of discovery marked the beginning of a new phase in his development as both a martial artist and a person. The quest to find his grandfather's 4-star Dragon Ball provided the perfect motivation for extended travel, while giving his journey a specific goal that appealed to his sentimental nature. The Orange Sphere's significance as his last tangible connection to Gohan made its recovery a matter of personal honor rather than mere material desire. His determination to reclaim this precious memento would drive him through adventures that tested every aspect of his growing abilities. His early adventures as a solo traveler revealed just how much he had grown since his first encounter with the outside world. Villages that had once seemed overwhelming in their complexity now felt manageable, though his social skills remained charmingly naive. His interactions with local populations showed a young man who retained his fundamental innocence while gaining confidence in his ability to navigate complex situations without guidance from more experienced companions. The encounters with remnants of the Red Ribbon Army provided Goku with opponents whose motivations and methods differed significantly from the honorable martial artists he had faced in tournament competition. These soldiers fought not for personal improvement or sporting competition, but for conquest, greed, and the advancement of their organization's sinister goals. Their willingness to employ weapons, ambush tactics, and threats against innocent civilians introduced Goku to forms of conflict that required different approaches than formal martial arts combat. His infiltration of Muscle Tower represented his first major solo mission against a fortified enemy position, testing his ability to think strategically while maintaining his moral principles. The tower's multiple levels, each defended by specialists chosen for their particular combat abilities, created a series of escalating challenges that pushed different aspects of his training, from the mechanical precision of Major Metallotron to the exotic techniques of the ninja Murasaki. Each floor presented unique obstacles that required creative solutions. The discovery of Android 8, later nicknamed Aider, within the tower's upper levels, provided Goku with his first encounter with artificial life forms designed for combat purposes. The android's gentle nature, despite his overwhelming physical capabilities, challenged Goku's assumptions about the relationship between strength and violence. Aider's pacifist philosophy and genuine kindness demonstrated that power could exist without malice, reinforcing the moral lessons that Gohan had tried to instill years earlier. Their alliance against the tower's remaining defenses showcased the potential for cooperation between beings of vastly different origins but similar values. Aider's technical knowledge of the facility's layout and security systems complemented Goku's combat abilities and problem-solving instincts, creating a partnership that proved more effective than either could have achieved alone. Their friendship also provided Goku with insights into the loneliness and isolation that could result from being different from those around you. General White's desperate release of the monster Bouillon presented Goku with an opponent whose unconventional physiology required equally unconventional tactics to defeat. The creature's elastic body and extreme resilience to physical damage made traditional martial arts techniques largely ineffective, forcing Goku to think creatively about alternative approaches. His eventual solution, exploiting the monster's vulnerability to extreme cold, demonstrated the kind of analytical thinking that would serve him well in future encounters with unusual enemies. The liberation of Jingle Village from the Red Ribbon Army's oppression gave Goku his first taste of being viewed as a genuine hero by grateful civilians. The villagers' celebration and their obvious relief at being freed from military occupation showed him the broader impact that his actions could have beyond personal achievement or adventure. Their simple gratitude for his intervention reinforced his growing understanding that his exceptional abilities came with corresponding responsibilities to help those who could not protect themselves. His journey to West City for Dragon radar repairs brought him back into contact with advanced technology and urban civilization after months of rural adventures. Bulma's amazement at his continued growth and development provided external confirmation of the progress he had made since their first meeting. Her scientific analysis of his enhanced capabilities also gave him new insights into just how far his training under Master Roshi had pushed his physical development beyond normal human limits. The underwater adventure to retrieve another Dragon Ball introduced Goku to environments where his terrestrial combat training had limited application. The challenges of fighting while submerged, dealing with water pressure, and navigating underwater caverns required adaptations to his usual techniques that expanded his versatility as a fighter. The encounter with General Blue in the aquatic setting demonstrated that skilled opponents could maintain their effectiveness even in unusual environments. General Blue's telekinetic abilities presented Goku with his first encounter with psychic powers used in combat, a form of attack that bypassed physical defenses entirely. The paralysis induced by the general's psychic assault left Goku completely helpless despite his superior strength and speed, teaching him that raw power could not overcome every type of threat. His eventual escape, triggered by the general's fear of a harmless mouse, revealed that even the most formidable abilities often carried unexpected weaknesses. The pursuit across multiple locations showcased Goku's growing tactical awareness and his ability to adapt his strategies based on his opponent's demonstrated capabilities. Rather than simply charging into direct confrontation, he began employing stealth, misdirection, and environmental advantages to gain the upper hand against a foe whose psychic powers made conventional combat approaches dangerous. This evolution in his fighting philosophy marked an important step in his development from a purely instinctive fighter to a more complete martial artist. The arrival at the sacred land of Korin marked Goku's first encounter with the legendary tower that would play such a significant role in his future development. The massive structure's incredible height and the legends surrounding its guardian immediately captured his imagination, while promising new challenges that would test his abilities in unprecedented ways. His decision to climb the tower represented not just a physical challenge, but a commitment to pursuing strength wherever it might lead him. The confrontation with Captain Yellow and his forces provided Goku with another opportunity to demonstrate his growing tactical sophistication in dealing with multiple opponents. Rather than simply overpowering his enemies through brute force, he began employing psychological warfare and strategic positioning to maximize his advantages while minimizing the risks to innocent bystanders. His protection of Bora and Upa during the battle showed his increasing awareness of the need to balance personal combat objectives with the safety of those around him. His successful retrieval of the 4-star Dragon Ball from Captain Yellow's forces represented the completion of his immediate quest, while also setting the stage for the most challenging confrontation of his young career. The appearance of Tao Pai Pai, the world's most feared assassin, would test every aspect of his development, while teaching him that some opponents required more than courage and determination to overcome. The lessons learned from this pivotal encounter would reshape his understanding of what it truly meant to be strong. The legendary assassin Tao Pai Pai arrived at the sacred land of Korin like death incarnate, his reputation preceding him in whispered tales of impossible kills and contracts that had never failed. His distinctive appearance, from the pink uniform to the confident swagger, marked him as someone who had transcended ordinary concepts of martial combat through decades of perfecting the art of killing. When he casually murdered Bora with a single tongue strike, demonstrating power that reduced a formidable warrior to a corpse in seconds, Goku witnessed for the first time what true malice looked like when backed by overwhelming skill. The ease with which Tao dispatched Bora revealed the enormous gap that existed between Goku's current abilities and those of the world's elite fighters. The Native American warrior had been strong enough to handle entire military units without difficulty, yet fell before the assassin like wheat before a scythe. This casual display of superior power served as a brutal introduction to the realities that awaited anyone who dared to challenge the established hierarchy of Earth's most dangerous individuals. Goku's shock at witnessing such effortless killing gave way to a rage that burned hotter than anything he had ever experienced. Their initial confrontation showcased the difference between someone who fought for sport and pleasure versus someone who killed for profit and reputation. Tao's attacks carried lethal intent with every movement, designed to end fights through maximum damage rather than demonstrating superior tech. His Dodon Ray, a concentrated beam of energy fired from his fingertip, possessed killing power that exceeded even Master Roshi's Kamehameha wave in terms of precision and lethality. The technique's surgical accuracy made it perfect for assassinations, while its incredible penetrating power could pierce virtually any defense. Goku's defeat came swiftly and decisively, the Dodon Ray striking him in the chest with enough force to stop his heart temporarily. Only the 4-star Dragon Ball hidden in his shirt prevented the beam from completely piercing his vital organs, saving his life through pure chance rather than any defensive skill on his part. The experience of lying apparently dead while conscious of his surroundings provided him with a terrifying glimpse of his own mortality and the consequences of challenging opponents beyond his current capabilities. Tao's casual departure, confident that his target was dead, demonstrated the professional detachment that made him so effective as an assassin. His decision to remain in the nearby town for several days of rest and recreation showed the supreme confidence of someone who had never encountered a target that survived his initial attack. This arrogance, born of countless successful kills, would prove to be the only advantage that Goku could exploit in any future confrontation between them. The climb up Korin Tower began as an act of desperation rather than calculated strategy, driven by Upa's tearful pleas and Goku's own determination to somehow avenge his fallen friend. The tower's incredible height, stretching far beyond the clouds into the upper atmosphere, represented a physical challenge unlike anything he had ever attempted. Each step upward carried him further from the world he knew, while testing his endurance against a structure that seemed designed to defeat human limitations through sheer scale. The ascent revealed new aspects of his character, as the isolation and extreme physical demands stripped away everything except his core determination. Hours became days as he climbed through changing weather conditions and increasingly thin air that made every breath a conscious effort. The tower's smooth surface offered few handholds, forcing him to rely on finger strength and balance that pushed his physical conditioning to its absolute limits. His refusal to abandon the climb despite exhaustion, hunger, and the growing realization of the task's enormity showed a level of persistence that went beyond normal human determination. Korin himself proved to be unlike any master Goku had ever encountered, combining ancient wisdom with a playful personality that made their interactions both enlightening and frustrating. The cat's casual revelation that he had been watching Goku's entire climb through a crystal ball demonstrated abilities that transcended normal physical limitations, while also showing an almost casual approach to his role as guardian of the sacred water. His immediate assessment of Goku's capabilities and motivations revealed insights that went far beyond what surface observation could provide. The 3-day trial to obtain the sacred water became a lesson in humility that challenged every assumption Goku had made about his own abilities. Korin's speed and agility made him impossible to catch, despite his small size and seemingly casual attitude toward their contest. Every attempt to grab the water jar resulted in failure, as the ancient cat anticipated Goku's movements with supernatural precision, while maintaining a running commentary that mixed helpful advice with gentle mockery. The physical demands of constantly pursuing an impossible target while maintaining the energy needed for continued attempts pushed Goku's endurance beyond anything Master Roshi's training had required. The tower's confined space meant that every movement had to be precisely controlled to avoid falling, adding an element of mortal danger to what might otherwise have been a simple game of tag. His growing frustration with his inability to land even a single successful grab forced him to question his understanding of speed, timing, and combat strategy. Korin's teaching methods relied more on demonstration than explanation, allowing Goku to gradually understand the principles of advanced movement through repeated failure and incremental improvement. The cat's ability to read and counter every attack before it fully developed revealed the existence of combat awareness that went far beyond simple reflexes or physical speed. This higher level of martial perception, where movements could be anticipated through subtle cues and energy patterns, represented a form of mastery that Goku had never imagined possible. The breakthrough came not through any single moment of revelation, but through the gradual accumulation of small improvements that eventually reached a critical threshold. Goku's movements became more efficient as wasted motion was eliminated through constant repetition and correction. His timing improved as he learned to recognize the subtle patterns in Korin's evasive maneuvers. Most importantly, his approach to the challenge evolved from desperate aggression to calculated precision as he began to truly understand what the trial was teaching him. His successful acquisition of the sacred water marked the completion of more than just a physical challenge, representing a fundamental shift in his approach to martial arts training and combat strategy. The realization that the water itself possessed no magical properties, but that the training required to obtain it had been the true source of improvement, taught him lessons about the nature of strength that would guide his future development. This understanding that power came from within rather than from external sources would become a cornerstone of his martial philosophy. The descent from Korin Tower revealed the true extent of his improvement, as movements that had once challenged his limits now felt effortless and natural. The 3 days of intense training had compressed months of normal development into a concentrated period of growth that left him fundamentally changed as a fighter. His enhanced speed, reflexes, and combat awareness represented not just quantitative improvements, but qualitative changes in how he approached the challenges of martial combat. His return to face Tao Pai Pai carried with it a confidence born of genuine achievement rather than mere bravado or wishful thinking. The assassin's surprise at discovering his target alive was matched by his shock at the dramatic improvement in Goku's abilities since their last encounter. What had been a one-sided massacre now became a competitive battle, as Goku's enhanced speed and reflexes allowed him to avoid or counter attacks that had previously been unstoppable. The rematch showcased the difference that proper training could make, even against seemingly insurmountable odds. Tao's techniques remained as deadly as ever, but their effectiveness was nullified by Goku's ability to anticipate and respond to attacks with supernatural precision. The assassin's growing frustration at his inability to land killing blows revealed cracks in the supreme confidence that had made him so feared throughout the martial arts world. Goku's victory came through a combination of superior speed, tactical awareness, and the kind of creative problem-solving that had become his trademark in difficult situations. When Tao resorted to grenades in desperation, throwing the explosive devices with the same deadly accuracy that marked all his attacks, Goku's response demonstrated both his enhanced reflexes and his growing tactical sophistication. His decision to kick one of the grenades back at his opponent showed that he had learned to turn an enemy's weapons against them rather than simply enduring their attacks. The defeat of the world's most feared assassin marked a turning point not just in Goku's personal development, but in the broader balance of power among Earth's elite fighters. News of Tao Pai Pai's death would spread throughout the martial arts community, establishing Goku's reputation as someone capable of challenging the established order. More importantly, his victory demonstrated that dedication and proper training could overcome advantages that seemed insurmountable to casual observation. The resurrection of Bora through the Dragon Balls provided Goku with his first experience of using the mystical spheres for a purpose beyond personal gain or adventure. The sight of his friend returning to life, embracing his son with tears of joy and gratitude, showed him the true potential that lay within the legendary artifacts. This lesson about using power to heal rather than destroy would influence his approach to the Dragon Balls throughout his future adventures. His decision to participate in the upcoming 2020 World Martial Arts Tournament carried with it the weight of his recent experiences and the confidence born of overcoming seemingly impossible challenges. The prospect of facing opponents whose skills might rival or exceed those of Tao. Pai Pai filled him with an excitement that transcended simple competitiveness. He had learned that there were always stronger fighters waiting to test his abilities, and this knowledge drove him to continue pursuing greater heights of martial mastery. The 3 years of training that followed his victory over Tao Pai Pai were spent in constant motion, traveling the world in search of new challenges and different approaches to martial arts development. His encounters with various masters and fighting styles expanded his understanding of combat, while providing him with techniques and philosophies that enriched his overall approach to training. Each new teacher offered unique insights that added depth to the foundation that Master Roshi and Korin had established. His arrival at the 2020 World Martial Arts Tournament marked his return to formal competition as a fundamentally different fighter than the enthusiastic boy who had participated 3 years earlier. The preliminary rounds revealed the extent of his development, as opponents who would have posed serious challenges during his first tournament were easily overwhelmed by his enhanced abilities. His casual dominance over experienced fighters served notice to the martial arts community that a new level of competitor had emerged. The tournament's main bracket brought him face to face with Tien Shinhan, a fighter whose dedication to martial arts matched his own, but whose philosophy and training methods represented a completely different approach to achieving ultimate power. The Three-Eyed Warrior's affiliation with the Crane School of Martial Arts, bitter rivals to Master Roshi's Turtle School, added layers of philosophical conflict to what might otherwise have been a simple sporting competition. Their confrontation would test not just their fighting abilities, but the validity of the different paths they had chosen in pursuit of martial excellence. The 2020 World Martial Arts Tournament represented the pinnacle of competitive martial arts on Earth, drawing fighters whose abilities transcended anything the general public believed possible through human training alone. Tien Shinhan's arrival marked the introduction of techniques that challenged conventional understanding of what martial artists could accomplish through dedication and study. His 3 eyes, products of intensive spiritual training rather than genetic mutation, allowed him to perceive movements and energy patterns that remained invisible to ordinary fighters. The Crane School's philosophy of achieving victory through any means necessary created a stark contrast to the Turtle School's emphasis on self-improvement and protection of others. The preliminary rounds showcased the tournament's elevated level of competition, as fighters who would have dominated previous competitions were eliminated with casual efficiency by those who had transcended normal human limitations. Goku's progression through these early matches revealed the extent of his development since his training under Korin, with opponents falling before techniques that seemed to bend the laws of physics. His enhanced speed allowed him to appear motionless while delivering multiple strikes, creating the illusion that his enemies were defeating themselves through mysterious internal failures. Tien's own advancement through the brackets demonstrated fighting abilities that approached the supernatural through their precision and devastating effectiveness. His solar flare technique, which generated blinding light through concentrated key manipulation, showed mastery over energy forms that most martial artists never realized existed. The Dodon Ray, inherited from his training under the Crane Hermit, carried the same lethal precision that had made Dao Pai Pai so feared throughout the fighting community. These advanced techniques marked Tien as someone who had studied under masters whose knowledge extended far beyond conventional martial arts. The philosophical differences between their respective schools became apparent through their contrasting approaches to combat and victory. Goku's fighting style emphasized personal growth and the joy of testing oneself against worthy opponents, viewing each battle as an opportunity to learn and improve regardless of the outcome. Tien's methodology focused on achieving dominance through superior technique and strategic application of overwhelming force, treating opponents as obstacles to be overcome rather than teachers to learn from. These fundamental differences in motivation would influence every aspect of their eventual confrontation. Chiaotzu's interference during the tournament finals represented the Crane School's willingness to sacrifice honor for victory, using psychic manipulation to paralyze Goku during crucial moments of his battle with Tien. The small fighter's telekinetic abilities, while impressive in their own right, were employed not for fair competition, but to ensure his partner's success through methods that violated the spirit, if not the letter, of tournament regulations. This external manipulation created a psychological challenge for Goku that went beyond simple physical combat, forcing him to overcome not just his opponent's skills, but also supernatural interference from an unseen source. The revelation of Chiaotzu's involvement and its subsequent elimination freed Goku to engage Tien in the kind of pure martial arts contest that both fighters had originally sought. With psychic interference removed, their battle escalated to levels that pushed the boundaries of what tournament facilities could contain. Each exchange of techniques demonstrated mastery that had been earned through years of dedicated training under legendary masters, yet also revealed the vast differences in philosophy that separated their respective schools of thought. Tien's decision to employ the tri-beam attack represented both the climactic moment of their contest and a demonstration of techniques that transcended ordinary martial arts competition. The square-shaped energy beam possessed destructive power that carved geometric patterns of devastation across the tournament grounds, eliminating not just the fighting ring, but substantial portions of the surrounding area. The technique's precision and overwhelming force showed mastery of energy manipulation that approached the level of natural disasters in terms of pure destructive capability. The aerial combat that ensued when both fighters found themselves without solid ground beneath their feet showcased abilities that defied conventional understanding of human flight and mobility. Neither Goku nor Tien possessed wings or mechanical devices, yet both demonstrated sustained aerial maneuvering that seemed to mock the laws of gravity through sheer force of will and energy projection. Their battle among the clouds provided spectators with a glimpse of martial arts techniques that bordered on the divine in their apparent impossibility. Goku's innovative use of the Kamehameha wave as a propulsion system demonstrated the kind of creative problem-solving that had become his trademark in difficult situations. Rather than simply using the energy beam as an attack, he redirected its force to provide the momentum needed for a surprise assault on his airborne opponent. This tactical adaptation of a familiar technique showed growth not just in power, but in understanding of how established abilities could be modified to meet unexpected challenges. The narrow margin of Tien's victory came down to fractions of seconds and degrees of positioning that only the fighters themselves could fully appreciate. Both combatants struck the ground simultaneously, but Goku's contact with the truck's roof placed him technically outside the tournament's boundaries, while Tien's landing on solid earth maintained his eligibility for victory. The decision revealed how closely matched their abilities had become, with the outcome determined by chance and circumstance rather than any significant difference in skill or determination. The tournament's aftermath brought celebrations that were quickly overshadowed by the emergence of a threat that dwarfed any previous challenge Earth had faced. The appearance of King Piccolo's minion Tambourine at the tournament grounds marked the beginning of a reign of terror that would test not just the world's strongest fighters, but the very survival of human civilization. The demon's casual murder of Krillin, executed with the same indifference one might show towards stepping on an insect, introduced a level of malevolence that transcended anything the martial arts community had previously encountered. Goku's immediate pursuit of Krillin's killer revealed the depth of friendship that had developed between the two former training partners during their time under Master Roshi's guidance. The rage that drove him to abandon all caution in seeking vengeance showed emotions that went beyond mere competitive rivalry or professional respect. Krillin's death represented the loss of someone who had shared the most formative experiences of his martial arts development, creating a wound that would influence his approach to protecting others throughout his future career. The aerial chase that carried Goku and Tambourine across vast distances demonstrated flying abilities that had evolved far beyond the simple techniques displayed during the tournament. Both fighter and demon sustained high-speed flight through varied terrain and weather conditions, maintaining combat readiness while navigating obstacles that would have grounded ordinary aircraft. Their battle among the clouds showcased destructive techniques that posed threats not just to each other, but to any populated areas that might lie in their path. Tambourine's eventual retreat after sustaining damage revealed that even King Piccolo's minions possessed limitations that could be exploited by sufficiently determined opponents. The demon's withdrawal provided Goku with his first evidence that the forces of evil, regardless of their apparent superiority, could be fought and potentially defeated through proper application of strength and strategy. This glimmer of hope would prove crucial in maintaining morale during the dark days that followed. King Piccolo's emergence from centuries of imprisonment marked the return of evil that had once threatened to plunge the world into permanent darkness. The Demon King's power exceeded anything that current generations had ever witnessed, combining magical abilities with martial arts mastery that approached the level of natural forces in terms of raw, destructive potential. His casual domination of military forces and government institutions demonstrated that conventional human power structures were utterly helpless against threats of this magnitude. The systematic elimination of martial artists across the globe represented a strategic campaign designed to remove any potential opposition before it could organize effective resistance. King Piccolo's knowledge of Earth's fighting community, gained through centuries of observation and preparation, allowed him to target the most dangerous individuals with surgical precision. The death of Master Roshi, despite his legendary status and incredible abilities, showed that even the world's most respected martial arts masters were vulnerable to the Demon King's overwhelming power. Tien's valiant but doomed assault on King Piccolo demonstrated the kind of courage that defined true martial artists when faced with impossible odds. His decision to sacrifice his own life in an attempt to destroy the demon showed growth beyond his previous focus on personal achievement and dominance over opponents. The failure of his most powerful techniques against King Piccolo's defenses revealed the enormous gap that existed between even elite human fighters and beings who possessed supernatural origins and abilities. Master Roshi's final battle against King Piccolo became a legendary confrontation between the old master's accumulated wisdom and the demon's centuries of malevolent power. The Turtle Hermit's use of the evil containment wave, a sealing technique that required the sacrifice of one's own life force, represented the kind of ultimate commitment that separated true heroes from ordinary fighters. His failure, due to the flawed container intended to trap the demon, demonstrated that even perfect technique and noble sacrifice could be undone by simple oversights in preparation. The world's descent into chaos under King Piccolo's rule provided a glimpse of what Earth would become without the protection of its martial arts defenders. Cities burned while their inhabitants cowered in terror, knowing that no human institution possessed the power to challenge the demon's authority. The collapse of government and military resistance left only scattered groups of survivors hiding in remote areas, hoping that someone might eventually arise to challenge the seemingly invincible tyrant. Goku's solitary quest to find power sufficient to challenge King Piccolo led him to legends and techniques that existed at the very edge of human knowledge. The ultra-divine water, rumored to grant incredible strength to those who could survive its consumption, represented a gamble with stakes that included not just his own life, but the fate of everyone on Earth. His decision to seek out this dangerous enhancement showed growth beyond his previous reliance on training and natural development alone. The journey to obtain the ultra-divine water tested his determination against challenges that combined physical danger with psychological pressure. The guardians and obstacles that protected the legendary substance served as final tests to ensure that only the most worthy could attempt to harness its power. His successful navigation of these trials demonstrated that his character development had kept pace with his growth in martial abilities. The consumption of the ultra-divine water marked a turning point that transformed Goku from a supremely gifted martial artist into something approaching the level of legendary warriors. The enhancement went beyond simple increases in strength and speed, fundamentally altering his relationship with ki energy and combat awareness. This transformation would provide him with the capabilities needed to challenge King Piccolo on equal terms, while also setting the stage for even greater developments in his future. His return to face the Demon King carried with it the hopes of everyone who had survived the initial onslaught and the weight of responsibility for avenging all those who had fallen. The battle that would follow would determine not just his own fate, but the future of human civilization itself, testing whether dedication and righteous purpose could overcome the forces of evil regardless of their apparent advantages in raw power and supernatural abilities. The transformation wrought by the ultra-divine water surged through Goku's body like liquid lightning, rewriting the fundamental limits that had constrained his abilities since birth. Each cell in his being resonated with newfound power that transcended anything he had experienced through conventional training. Yet the enhancement came with a terrible price that nearly claimed his life in the process. The poisonous nature of the legendary substance tested his constitution against forces that had killed countless warriors who lacked the spiritual purity necessary to survive its consumption. His successful integration of this divine enhancement marked his evolution from exceptional human fighter to something approaching the realm of legendary warriors whose names echoed through ancient tales. The journey back to King Piccolo's last known location carried him across a landscape transformed by demonic rule into something resembling the aftermath of an apocalyptic war. Cities that had once bustled with human activity now stood as monuments to the demons' casual cruelty. Their populations either fled or eliminated according to the whims of their supernatural overlord. The systematic destruction of human civilization served not just as a demonstration of power, but as a psychological weapon designed to crush any hope of resistance before it could take root among the survivors. King Furry's palace, once the symbol of earthly authority and governance, had become the seat of demonic power, where King Piccolo held court over his conquered domain. The building's transformation from a center of democratic leadership to a throne room for an ancient evil represented the complete inversion of everything human society had built over centuries of progress. Guards who had once protected the innocent now served a master whose very existence represented the antithesis of everything they had sworn to defend. Goku's arrival at the palace coincided with King Piccolo's assault on Tien Shinhan, whose desperate attempt to challenge the demon had resulted in a one-sided battle that showcased the enormous gap between even elite human fighters and beings of supernatural origin. The sight of the proud warrior being systematically dismantled by techniques that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics served as a stark reminder of what Goku himself would face in the coming confrontation. Tien's courage in facing impossible odds, despite having no realistic chance of victory, demonstrated the kind of heroic spirit that inspired others to continue fighting, even when logic suggested surrender. The demon's newest creation, a massive offspring named Drum whose size and strength exceeded even his father's physical capabilities, represented King Piccolo's confidence in his ability to handle any remaining resistance through overwhelming force rather than personal involvement. Drum's casual domination of Tien, despite the three-eyed warrior's enhanced abilities and desperate determination, showed that the Demon King's minions alone possessed power sufficient to crush Earth's remaining defenders. The creature's sadistic pleasure in prolonging his victim's suffering revealed the malevolent nature that characterized all of King Piccolo's offspring. Goku's intervention came at the moment when Drum prepared to deliver the killing blow to the exhausted Tien, his enhanced speed allowing him to cross the battlefield faster than the demon could perceive his approach. The single devastating kick that shattered Drum's massive form demonstrated power that exceeded anything the demonic forces had encountered since their return to the world. The ease with which he destroyed King Piccolo's strongest creation served notice that Earth finally possessed a champion capable of challenging the Demon King on equal terms. King Piccolo's shock at witnessing his offspring's destruction gave way to recognition that he faced an opponent whose abilities transcended anything he had previously encountered among human fighters. The demon's assessment of Goku's power levels revealed capabilities that approached his own, a development that violated everything he understood about human limitations and potential. This realization forced him to abandon his casual approach to combat and engage seriously with someone who might actually pose a genuine threat to his continued existence. Their initial exchange of attacks tested the boundaries of what the palace structure could withstand as techniques capable of leveling mountains collided within the confines of a building designed for ceremonial rather than military purposes. King Piccolo's energy blasts carved paths of destruction through walls and supports that had stood for generations, while Goku's physical strikes created impact craters that threatened the building's structural integrity. The escalating battle forced both combatants to consider the tactical implications of fighting in a confined space where collateral damage could affect the outcome. The demon's mastery of dark energy manipulation revealed itself through techniques that combined raw destructive power with supernatural effects that went beyond simple physical damage. His ability to generate explosive waves that affected not just the body but the spirit itself marked him as someone who had transcended the boundaries between martial arts and genuine magic. These attacks carried with them the accumulated malevolence of centuries spent in contemplation of revenge, making them weapons of psychological warfare as much as physical destruction. Goku's response demonstrated that his enhancement through the ultra-divine water had granted him more than simple increases in strength and speed, fundamentally altering his relationship with ki energy in ways that allowed him to match supernatural techniques with purely human determination and skill. His Kamehameha waves now carried power that rivaled King Piccolo's most devastating attacks, while maintaining the precision necessary to avoid destroying everything around them. This combination of overwhelming force with tactical control marked a level of mastery that few beings had ever achieved. The battle's progression revealed that King Piccolo's centuries of imprisonment had left him somewhat diminished from his original peak, while Goku's enhancement represented the culmination of intensive training combined with divine intervention. The demon's growing frustration at his inability to quickly overwhelm his opponent manifested in increasingly reckless attacks that sacrificed strategy for raw, destructive power. His abandonment of tactical thinking in favor of overwhelming assault created openings that a more experienced fighter might have exploited immediately. King Piccolo's decision to unleash his full power, regardless of the consequences to his own longevity, demonstrated the depth of his desperation as the battle turned against him. The transformation that restored his youthful appearance and peak capabilities came at the cost of dramatically shortening his remaining lifespan, representing a gamble that he could destroy Goku before his own enhanced state collapsed. This strategic sacrifice revealed both his recognition of the genuine threat his opponent represented and his willingness to risk everything for victory. The renewed battle between King Piccolo at full power and Goku, pushed by the Ultra Divine Water's enhancement, reached levels that threatened not just the palace, but the surrounding city, as their techniques carved paths of devastation across the urban landscape. Each exchange of attacks generated shock waves that shattered windows for miles, while their aerial combat created patterns of destruction that resembled the aftermath of natural disasters. The civilian population fled in terror from forces that exceeded their comprehension, while the very foundations of human civilization trembled under the impact of their conflict. Goku's tactical adaptation to his opponent's enhanced capabilities showed growth beyond simple increases in raw power, demonstrating the kind of strategic thinking that separated true martial artists from those who relied solely on overwhelming force. His use of the environment as both weapon and shield revealed understanding of three-dimensional combat that utilized every available advantage while minimizing his own exposure to the demon's most devastating techniques. This evolution in fighting philosophy marked his development from someone who fought through instinct alone to a warrior capable of complex battlefield analysis. The climactic moment of their battle came when King Piccolo attempted to use Tien as a human shield, demonstrating that even ancient demons were not above using hostages when their tactical position became untenable. The ethical challenge this presented forced Goku to choose between accepting potential harm to an innocent ally or allowing his enemy to escape through psychological manipulation. His response revealed character development that prioritized the protection of others, even when such choices might compromise his own chances of victory. Goku's final assault combined everything he had learned about combat strategy with the full extent of his enhanced capabilities, creating an attack that transcended simple physical force through the integration of technique, timing, and absolute determination. The penetrating strike that pierced King Piccolo's defenses demonstrated power that approached the level of natural forces while maintaining the precision necessary to avoid unnecessary destruction. This perfect synthesis of overwhelming strength with surgical control marked the pinnacle of martial arts achievement. King Piccolo's dying moments were marked not by repentance or acknowledgement of his evil deeds, but by a final act of malevolence that ensured his legacy would continue beyond his own destruction. The egg that contained his offspring and reincarnation was expelled with his last breath, carrying within it not just the demon's power, but his accumulated knowledge and burning desire for revenge. This final gambit ensured that Goku's victory, while complete in the immediate sense, had not truly ended the threat that King Piccolo represented to the world. The revelation that the demon's death would restore the Dragon Balls to functionality provided hope that the massive casualties and destruction of his reign could be partially undone through the power of wish fulfillment. Goku's decision to use the mystical spheres to resurrect those who had fallen in the battle against evil demonstrated growth in his understanding of responsibility and the proper use of supernatural power. His choice to prioritize others' lives over any personal desires marked his complete transformation from a fighter seeking individual strength to a true protector of the innocent. The aftermath of King Piccolo's defeat brought both celebration and sobering awareness that even greater challenges might await in the future. The demon's final act had ensured that his legacy would continue through his offspring, while his knowledge of advanced techniques and supernatural abilities would be passed on to the next generation. This understanding that victory often carried within it the seeds of future conflict marked Goku's introduction to the cyclical nature of good versus evil that would define much of his future career as Earth's protector. The decision to climb to Kami's lookout represented Goku's commitment to preparing for whatever challenges the demon's successor might present, while also seeking to understand the deeper mysteries surrounding the dragon, balls, and their connection to divine beings. His journey upward through the atmosphere toward the palace of Earth's guardian marked the beginning of a new phase in his development that would transcend earthly martial arts to encompass cosmic understanding and divine techniques. The boy who had once known only the forests of Mount Paozu was about to discover that his true destiny lay among the gods themselves. The ascent to Kami's lookout carried Goku through layers of atmosphere that few earthbound beings had ever experienced, each step upward, taking him further from the world he knew, into realms where divine power shaped reality according to will rather than natural law. The sacred pole that connected Earth to heaven stretched beyond the clouds into air so thin that normal humans would have lost consciousness from oxygen deprivation, yet Goku's enhanced physiology allowed him to continue climbing toward his appointment with destiny. His determination to face whatever successor King Piccolo had created drove him upward through conditions that would have defeated him before his enhancement with the ultra-divine water. The palace that awaited him at the pole's summit defied conventional architecture through its seeming suspension in empty space, held aloft by forces that transcended earthly engineering and construction techniques. Ancient tiles and elegant curves spoke of craftsmanship that had been perfected over millennia by beings whose understanding of beauty and function exceeded anything human artisans had achieved. The structure's very existence served as a testament to the power that governed it, demonstrating mastery over natural forces that allowed architecture to exist independently of traditional foundations and supports. Mr. Popo's greeting challenged every assumption Goku had made about the relationship between appearance and capability in martial arts combat. The dark-skinned guardian's rotund figure and seemingly gentle demeanor concealed abilities that exceeded even Goku's enhanced capabilities, revealing that true power often existed independently of physical conditioning or intimidating appearance. His casual demonstration of speed that made Goku appear motionless served as a humbling introduction to levels of ability that transcended everything the young warrior had previously encountered during his earthly adventures. The training exercises that Mr. Popo designed challenged not just Goku's physical abilities, but his fundamental understanding of how movement and combat functioned at the highest levels of martial arts mastery. The requirement to remain perfectly still like a stone, while simultaneously maintaining the reflexes necessary to move faster than lightning, seemed paradoxical until Goku began to grasp the deeper principles underlying advanced ki control. This synthesis of absolute calm with explosive action represented a martial arts concept that few beings ever mastered completely. Kami's eventual appearance revealed the shocking truth that connected King Piccolo's evil to the very foundations of Earth's spiritual governance. The Guardian's identical appearance to the defeated demon, save for the divine garments and serene expression that marked his enlightened nature, demonstrated the complex relationship between good and evil that existed within powerful beings. His explanation of their shared origin as two halves of a single Namekian warrior who had split himself to achieve divine status provided context for the cyclical nature of their conflict. The revelation that Piccolo Jr.'s defeat of his father's killer would be necessary to prove his worthiness as Earth's protector created a moral and tactical dilemma that transcended simple combat preparation. Goku's training would need to prepare him not just to survive an encounter with someone who possessed King Piccolo's power and knowledge, but to somehow emerge victorious without compromising the spiritual balance that kept Earth's Dragon Balls functional. This understanding that his next battle carried implications beyond personal survival added weight to every aspect of his preparation. The hyperbolic time chamber offered Goku his first taste of training under conditions that violated the normal relationship between time and space, creating an environment where years of development could be compressed into days of external time. The chamber's harsh conditions, with gravity 10 times Earth's normal level and temperatures that alternated between desert heat and Arctic cold, provided physical challenges that pushed his enhanced body to its absolute limits. More importantly, the psychological isolation and sensory deprivation tested his mental fortitude against conditions that had driven previous occupants to madness. His premature exit from the time chamber after barely a month of the year-long session he had planned revealed that some forms of training required not just physical endurance, but psychological maturity that came only with experience and age. The chamber's oppressive environment and complete isolation had tested aspects of his character that no amount of physical conditioning could prepare him to handle. This failure taught him humility, while also providing valuable insights into the relationship between mental and physical training that would serve him throughout his future development. The 3 years of intensive preparation that followed combined everything Kami and Mr. Popo could teach him about divine martial arts with continued development of the foundations that Master Roshi and Korin had established. His training encompassed not just combat techniques, but spiritual disciplines that connected him more deeply to the life energy that flowed through all living beings. This holistic approach to development prepared him to face opponents whose power transcended purely physical limitations while maintaining the moral center that defined his character. His return to human society after 3 years of divine training marked his emergence as a young adult whose capabilities had evolved far beyond anything suggested by his still youthful appearance. The 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament would serve as both a celebration of his growth and a testing ground for abilities that had been forged in realms beyond ordinary human experience. His confident anticipation of the challenges ahead reflected not arrogance, but the quiet assurance that came from knowing he had prepared as thoroughly as possible for whatever awaited him. The tournament's preliminary rounds revealed the extent to which his abilities now exceeded those of ordinary martial artists. Even highly skilled ones who had devoted their lives to combat training. His casual advancement through matches that would have challenged him significantly during his previous tournament appearances demonstrated growth that transcended simple improvements in strength or speed. The qualitative changes in his relationship with ki energy and combat awareness marked his evolution into something approaching the level of legendary warriors whose names were remembered across generations. His unexpected encounter with Chi-Chi in the tournament brackets brought personal relationships into conflict with his martial arts obligations for the first time in his adult life. Her disguise as an anonymous fighter had been designed to test whether he would remember the childhood promise of marriage that he had made without understanding its implications. His recognition of her fighting style, despite her concealed identity, demonstrated that his enhanced perceptions extended beyond simple combat applications to encompass deeper forms of awareness and memory. The revelation of Chi-Chi's identity and his impulsive proposal of marriage during their match showed growth in his understanding of personal responsibility and commitment that matched his development as a warrior. His decision to honor promises made in innocent childhood, even when they complicated his life as an adult, reflected the moral character that had been shaped by Gohan's teachings and refined through years of training under divine guidance. This integration of personal obligations with martial arts pursuits would become a defining characteristic of his approach to balancing competing priorities. His semifinal match against Tien Shin Han provided an opportunity to demonstrate the full extent of his transformation, while also testing the former Crane School students' own growth toward enlightenment. The battle showcased techniques that had been impossible during their previous encounter, with both fighters displaying abilities that approached the supernatural through their mastery of advanced ki manipulation. Goku's victory, achieved through the removal of his weighted training clothes that had concealed his true speed, revealed preparation methods that went far beyond conventional training approaches. The final confrontation with Piccolo Jr. represented the culmination of everything Goku had learned about combat, strategy, and moral choice during his years of preparation under divine tutelage. The young demon's power exceeded even his father's peak capabilities, while his intelligence and tactical acumen promised a battle that would test every aspect of Goku's development. The revelation that Kami's life was linked to Piccolo's existence through their shared origin created stakes that transcended simple tournament victory to encompass the continued existence of Earth's Dragon Balls and spiritual guardian. Piccolo's transformation into his giant form seemed designed to overwhelm his opponent through sheer scale and intimidating presence. Yet, Goku's response demonstrated that he had learned to think tactically about unusual combat situations. His deliberate strategy of allowing himself to be swallowed in order to retrieve the container holding Kami showed the kind of sacrificial courage that elevated his heroism beyond simple fighting ability. This willingness to risk everything for the protection of others marked his complete transformation from a warrior seeking personal strength to a true guardian of the innocent. The destruction of the tournament ring during their climactic battle freed both combatants to employ their full capabilities without concern for collateral damage to the facility, yet also eliminated the traditional boundaries that defined victory and defeat. Their aerial combat showcased abilities that transcended earthly martial arts through techniques that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. Piccolo's energy attacks carved paths of destruction across the landscape, while Goku's responses demonstrated precision that could neutralize overwhelming force through perfect timing and placement. Goku's discovery of flight during the battle's most desperate moment represented not just a new technique, but a fundamental breakthrough in his relationship with ki energy that opened possibilities for future development. The ability to move freely through three-dimensional space without relying on solid surfaces transformed every aspect of combat strategy, while providing access to fighting environments that had previously been impossible to utilize. This achievement marked his evolution from an earthbound warrior to someone capable of battle among the clouds and beyond. The decisive moment of their contest came when Piccolo's overwhelming power began to fail against Goku's combination of enhanced abilities, tactical innovation, and absolute determination to protect others regardless of personal cost. The headbutt that secured victory demonstrated that sometimes the simplest techniques, when executed with perfect timing and total commitment, could overcome the most sophisticated supernatural abilities. This triumph of fundamental martial arts principles over complex magical powers validated the training philosophy that had shaped Goku's entire development. His decision to spare Piccolo's life and provide him with a senzu bean revealed character growth that transcended simple mercy to encompass understanding of redemption's possibility, even for those who seemed irredeemably evil. The act of healing his defeated enemy showed confidence that goodness could ultimately triumph over malevolence through example rather than destruction. This choice to give his greatest opponent a second chance would have consequences that extended far beyond the immediate tournament, shaping the future of Earth's protection in ways that no one could anticipate. The tournament's conclusion marked not just Goku's first official martial arts championship, but his acceptance of adult responsibilities that went far beyond personal achievement or recognition. His marriage to Chi-Chi represented a commitment to building the kind of normal life that his unique abilities made challenging to maintain, while his new relationship with the reformed Piccolo created possibilities for cooperation between former enemies. These personal developments paralleled his emergence as Earth's unofficial protector, someone whose strength and character made him the natural choice to face whatever threats might emerge from the cosmos beyond. Vegeta's arrival on Earth marked the culmination of Saiyan arrogance and power, embodying everything that made their warrior race both feared and respected throughout the galaxy's conquered territories. The Prince of all Saiyans carried himself with the supreme confidence of someone who had never encountered a challenge he could not overcome. Through raw superiority and tactical brilliance, his assessment of Earth's defenders revealed calculations based on power levels that reduced even the planet's strongest fighters to statistical insignificance compared to his own capabilities. The casual manner in which he had observed Nappa's defeat served not as warning, but as mild entertainment before demonstrating what true Saiyan nobility could accomplish when properly motivated. The battle that ensued between Goku and Vegeta transcended every previous conflict in terms of sheer destructive potential and the techniques employed by both combatants. Vegeta's energy attacks carved permanent scars across the landscape while generating shock waves that registered on seismic equipment across the globe, demonstrating power that approached natural disasters in their scope and intensity. His mastery of key manipulation allowed him to create explosions that could be seen from space, while maintaining the precision necessary to avoid ending the fight too quickly. Through environmental destruction that might deny him the satisfaction of personal victory, Goku's response revealed the full extent of his training under King Kai, as he employed the Kaioken technique with increasing multipliers that pushed his body beyond all safe operational limits. The red aura that surrounded him during these power enhancements served as visible proof that he was burning through his life force to achieve combat capabilities that briefly matched or exceeded Vegeta's natural advantages. Each increase in the technique's multiplier brought him closer to levels that could permanently damage his physiology, while providing the only means available to compete with an opponent whose baseline power exceeded his own enhanced capabilities. The beam struggle between Goku's Kamehameha wave and Vegeta's Gallic gun created a collision of energies that threatened not just the immediate battle zone, but the entire planet's continued existence. Both fighters poured everything they possessed into techniques that could have destroyed entire solar systems if left unchecked, yet maintained sufficient control to prevent the collateral damage that would have rendered their victory meaningless. The visible strain this contest placed on both combatants revealed that even warriors of their caliber operated within finite limits that could be exceeded through sufficient determination and desperation. Vegeta's transformation into the great ape represented his abandonment of any pretense of fair combat in favor of the overwhelming superiority that defined Saiyan conquest methodology throughout the galaxy. The artificial moon he created through concentrated energy projection demonstrated tactical preparation that went beyond simple raw power to encompass strategic thinking about environmental advantages and psychological warfare. His increased size and proportional strength gains transformed the battle from a contest between equals into a desperate struggle for survival against a force of nature guided by intelligent malice. The revelation that Goku's own great ape transformation had been responsible for his grandfather's death added personal tragedy to the tactical disaster of facing Vegeta's enhanced form. The understanding that his innocent childhood had been marked by unconscious violence against the person he loved most created psychological trauma that transcended mere combat stress. This knowledge that his Saiyan heritage carried within it the potential for destroying everything he sought to protect added emotional weight to the physical challenge of surviving against impossible odds. The coordinated efforts of Earth's remaining defenders demonstrated that victory against cosmic-level threats sometimes required teamwork and sacrifice from those whose individual power levels seemed insignificant compared to the forces involved. Krillin's courage in attacking an opponent who could have eliminated him with casual effort showed the kind of heroism that transcended mathematical calculations of power and probability. Gohan's contributions, driven more by desperate love for his father than conscious tactical planning, revealed that emotional bonds could provide motivation that exceeded rational assessment of survivable odds. Yajirobe's intervention at the crucial moment when Vegeta's tail provided his only vulnerable point proved that even the most unlikely individuals could play decisive roles in conflicts that shaped the fate of worlds. The Ronin's successful severing of the appendage that maintained the Great Ape transformation demonstrated that courage and opportunism could overcome enormous disparities in combat capability through proper timing and application of force at critical vulnerabilities. His reluctant heroism served as proof that extraordinary circumstances could inspire ordinary people to achieve impossible things. The brutal conclusion of their battle left both Saiyans broken and exhausted, their enhanced physiologies pushed beyond all reasonable limits. Through techniques and transformations that demanded prices their bodies could barely afford to pay. Vegeta's defeat came not through any single decisive technique, but through the accumulated damage of sustained combat against opponents who refused to surrender despite facing impossible odds. His grudging retreat in a damaged space pod marked the first time in his adult life that he had been forced to withdraw from battle through anything other than strategic choice. Goku's decision to spare Vegeta's life, despite the enormous threat he represented, created the foundation for future developments that would reshape both their destinies in ways neither could anticipate. His belief that even the most hardened enemies deserved opportunities for redemption reflected character growth that had transformed him from a fighter seeking personal strength into someone who understood the complex relationships between power, responsibility, and mercy. This choice to show compassion towards someone who had shown none would have consequences that extended far beyond immediate tactical considerations. The aftermath of the Saiyan invasion left Earth's defenders scattered and wounded, while providing harsh lessons about the realities of cosmic-level conflict that would influence all future preparations for similar threats. The casual ease with which beings from other worlds had nearly destroyed human civilization served as stark reminder that Earth's isolation from galactic affairs could not be maintained indefinitely. The knowledge that even more powerful enemies existed somewhere among the stars created urgency around developing defensive capabilities that could protect against threats whose power exceeded planetary standards. Goku's recovery from injuries that should have been fatal under normal circumstances revealed that Saiyan physiology included regenerative capabilities that transcended human limitations, especially when combined with advanced medical techniques and magical healing methods. His time in the hospital provided opportunities for reflection on the battle's lessons, while also serving as preparation for whatever challenges might emerge from the cosmic conflicts that had suddenly become relevant to Earth's continued existence. The understanding that his alien heritage included both tremendous advantages and equally significant responsibilities would influence his approach to training and combat throughout his future career. The decision to seek the Namekian Dragon Balls on their home world represented Earth's first deliberate venture into interstellar conflict, marking the transition from a planet that occasionally faced cosmic threats to one that actively participated in galactic affairs. The journey to Namek would test every aspect of the lessons learned during the Saiyan invasion, while introducing new challenges that exceeded anything Earth's defenders had previously encountered. The revelation that other worlds possessed their own versions of the Dragon Balls opened possibilities for power and wishes that transcended terrestrial limitations. Frieza's involvement in Namekian affairs introduced Earth's defenders to galactic politics and power structures that operated according to scales and motivations that dwarfed anything they had previously comprehended. The Emperor's casual dominion over entire sectors of space demonstrated that Vegeta and Nappa, despite their overwhelming superiority over Earth's fighters, were merely servants in a hierarchy that encompassed beings whose power approached divine levels. This understanding that cosmic threats existed in layers of increasing danger would require fundamental changes in how Earth's defenders approached training and preparation. The Ginyu Force's reputation as elite specialists in combat and conquest revealed that Frieza's empire included warriors whose abilities transcended anything Earth had previously faced, including the Saiyans, who had nearly destroyed their world. These flamboyant fighters combined overwhelming individual power with coordinated team tactics that maximized their effectiveness against even superior opponents. Their approaching arrival on Namek promised battles that would test every aspect of Goku's development, while introducing combat scenarios that required adaptation to multiple skilled opponents working in perfect coordination. The stage was now set for conflicts that would determine not just Earth's fate, but the balance of power throughout entire galactic regions, with Goku's continued growth serving as the only hope for survival against forces that had conquered countless worlds throughout their rise to cosmic dominance. His transformation from Earth's strongest fighter into someone capable of challenging galactic emperors would require developments that transcended everything he had previously achieved through training and natural ability, pushing him toward power levels that approached the legendary throughout the universe's recorded history. The saga of Son Goku stands as testament to the transformative power of choice over circumstance, revealing how a single moment of compassion can reshape destinies across the cosmos. Born Kakarot, a Saiyan warrior programmed for planetary destruction, he became something far greater through the love of an old man who saw potential for goodness in an abandoned child. The head injury that erased his destructive programming became the universe's greatest blessing, allowing innocence to flourish where conquest had been intended. His journey from the mountains of Earth to battles among the stars demonstrated that true strength comes not from the desire to dominate others, but from the determination to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Through every transformation and triumph, Goku proved that the greatest victories are won not through overwhelming power, but through the courage to stand against impossible odds for the sake of others. His story continues to inspire across galaxies and generations, reminding us that heroes are not born but chosen through countless small decisions to help rather than harm. In Goku's endless quest to become stronger, he discovered that the most important battles are fought not for personal glory, but for the simple right of others to live in peace. His legacy endures as proof that even the humblest beginnings can give rise to legends that echo through eternity.